Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Pables and Jables, where us non critics completely criticize our favorite movies and TV shows. I'm JB.
Right?
Today, we'll be covering the sixth episode of the HBO series The Last of Us, titled Kin. Brian, what'd you think of this episode?
This episode was pretty unreal. I think for at least for the 90% of it, I don't know if I loved the very ending of the show, but we'll talk about that a little bit more. But I thought the first, essentially the entire episode, other than the ending, was amazing. Absolutely amazing. A couple of things that I really want to say. Uh, this this version of Ellie that Bella Ramsey is playing has completely won me over. Amazing,
Okay.
and they included several Easter eggs in this episode that I really came to appreciate. But also the way that they adapted a lot the of the the most of the game to fit in this kind of world, this much more realistic world with much more humanized characters, I thought made a ton of sense, and thought all of it was some great decisions there. This had two of my most important scenes in this episode. One of them being the argument scene, which is probably my favorite scene, and the scene that they absolutely had to get right. And the other one is the part where Joel, the very ending, where Joel ends up getting stabbed. And that's the part where I don't know if I really liked how they adapted it, but we'll talk about that more. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was really another pretty strong episode. They covered a lot of ground for sure. I didn't expect them to cover all that ground. They went from, well, they jumped ahead 3 months, which I didn't expect that. I thought they would jump ahead a little bit, but basically we left them in Kansas City in the last episode. Now they're in Colorado, right? So I thought that was, or I guess Wyoming. No,
Not Colorado, Wyoming. Yeah, that's
they were
right.
in Wyoming, but then they go to the
Colorado.
University of Colorado. Yeah, so they're in Wyoming. He finds Tommy, his brother, which, like, I thought that happened like early in the episode. I thought that was going to be like, end the episode kind of thing. Like, I thought that was going to be like a big, like, climactic meetup, and it was kind of just like anticlimactic, but I liked it. Like, he just got there and then saw Tommy, and like he thought Tommy, like, he had to save Tommy, and Tommy's actually just like chilling, like living life in this, like, relatively normal life in this, like, town. Um, so we saw Tommy again, and then all the stuff that happens there, which we'll talk about, and then obviously the scene at the University of Colorado. I mean, there's just they covered a lot of ground in this episode. I have no idea where it's going from here. Obviously, as someone who hasn't played the game, I assume Joel's not dead, but I don't know how he's going to recover if he does, or like how he's gonna be saved, or whatever. Um, and the next episode from the like, the sneak peek for next week looks like it's possibly like a an Ellie, like, how, I don't know, like a callback, or what's the word I'm looking for? Um,
Pretty cool.
Prequel, yeah, basically like a prequel, yeah, for Ellie, yeah, yeah. And so yeah, I'm interested to see like how they'll move forward with this. But I thought it was another strong episode. I thought it was a lot of good dialogue, especially in this one. There wasn't like a whole lot of action except at the end. Um, and so I thought a lot of good dialogue, a lot of good scenes between Joel and Ellie again. And Joel and his brother. I thought those were super powerful, and interesting to see, kind of like the difference between uh like how Tommy is living and feeling about life in general, and how Joel is feeling about life in general, right? Like in this episode, Joel like breaks down, right? And like, to Tommy, and I that's something we haven't really seen him do. Seems like he's having, like, starting to have like some panic attacks, right? Just like everything going on. And we saw like an even more vulnerable side of Joel than we really seen, and how like he's starting to lose, like he's starting to doubt himself of like, can he actually protect Ellie, or not, going forward. And so I thought that all that was pretty powerful, and really well done. Um,
That conversation that they have, I thought, they took what was a growing issue of mine about, Joel not being super competent, and they turned it into a plot point. And I thought that was really smart. They address it, and how, he doesn't feel capable enough to keep her alive, and that's the reason he wants to pass her off to Tommy. And
Yeah.
I thought that made a lot more sense. Whereas in the game, it was purely because um, he felt himself getting too attached, and he didn't
Hmm.
want to do that.
I thought, yeah, and I don't know. I was questioning the whole thing. Like, why would so if Tommy believes him about Ellie, right? So like at one point, Joel opens up Tommy and's like, she's immune. Like, and it seems like, I mean, I would assume like Tommy believes him. Because like one, why would Joel lie to him?
Yeah.
Two, like Tommy agrees to take Ellie in the morning, right? On his own. My question is, they have like this whole community of people. Obviously they have like people who are doing, like kind of like doing watches, and like, they have the horses, and like that's how they find Joel and Ellie in the first place, right? They're like kind of just, I don't know, like doing a watch, and like, like running security checks and whatnot, right? Um so like why wouldn't they, if Tommy like thinks that this is real, like Ellie's actually immune, shouldn't that be like the most important thing at the moment? I know, like, we find out that like Tommy's wife is pregnant, which obviously is huge, but like if she's immune, there's actually like a chance at a cure. Like, why wouldn't multiple people, why wouldn't they like round up a group of like capable people to go and like make this trek to get Ellie to, the university, which ended up being there was no one there, so it's kind of like that sucked. But I don't know, I was just thinking that, and I know Joel tells Tommy, like, don't tell anyone else, and that makes sense because he's scared that like if someone's not going to believe them, they're just going to shoot her on the spot if they think she's infected, right? But at the
Yeah.
same time, like, I feel like at least Tommy and Joel should go, and not just one of them, because that's the biggest thing at the moment. And I think Joel makes a good point. He says, like, uh this could change, like, this could give your child a better life. Like, if she's immune and they can like get a vaccine, that could give your child a much better world to live in, right? And so I don't know, I just thought that was like, I was just questioning that throughout the episode, like why wouldn't they kind of, I don't know, get a bigger kind of like party to go and do this, or at least the both of them.
So the way that I always interpreted the scene was that, well, especially particularly in the video game, is that Tommy is very skeptical, and but he does it more so as a favor for Joel than for this like humanity thing, and that's how I always took it. I think the way that the show tries to interpret it, Tommy, uh, it's I thought it was. I agree with you that the decision that why don't they just go? It makes a lot of sense. Tommy was gonna go anyways. Why not make sure that his brother, I mean, is seemingly not super capable on his, and if he's worried about getting her killed, if the both of them go, their chances increase a lot more, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with that. But in the game that he says, Joel says, get your born again friends to do it. This is the cure for humanity. And Tommy is like holding a lot of grudges against Joel, so he's very combative in the game. But the reason he ends up doing it is because he sees the bond that Joel and Ellie have, and he realizes that it's too painful for him, which is why he decides to go.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Yeah, and that's fair. And obviously I think it probably makes for better like storytelling and show if it's just Joel and Ellie, right? Or but I don't know, just from like a thinking about it logically, I'm just like, dude, send some people. So wait, in the game, does he only tell Tommy about Ellie, or do they tell other people?
Well, he only tells Tommy about Ellie, but
Okay.
their reunion in the video game is much more combative. Like they have a big argument instead of Joel never pours out his feelings like he does in the show.
Okay.
He essentially goes there and then he's like take this girl to the Fireflies and try and like tells and essentially is like telling Tommy to do it, and Tommy pushes back and they
Hmm.
have like an argument, and where he says, "I bring," and the line that I wish that they kept that I thought was really good in the game was, "I bring you the cure for mankind. You want to play the pissy little brother," and they get into a bit of a fight, and
Yeah.
then later. He sees that Joel and Ellie, like he wasn't going to do it, but then he sees the bond between Joel and Ellie, and he sees that it reminds him of Sarah. So then he tells his wife. Him and his wife have a huge argument about it, and his wife hates Joel for making him do it because she's worried that he's not going to come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
it makes a little bit more sense, I think. But in this one, she's very accepting of the fact that he's going to go. There's very little pushback. So yeah, I see what you're
Yeah,
saying.
and honestly, I mean, I thought Tommy this episode was really really good. And like he was like being a great brother. I think in this entire episode,
Yeah, he,
Joel was being a dick. Joel was being a dick. Before the part where he like opened up. And listen, I get it. Like he's been through a lot of shit, but like, dude, everyone has. And even like Ellie kind of says that to him. Like she's like, you don't think he's like, you don't know law. She's like, you don't think I don't know. Like she's like, everyone I've ever known and loved has either died or left me. Like, so
yeah,
I think like yeah, and that was dude, that hit like so hard, especially because this girl's like 14 and she's so grown up. And so, but yeah, like Tommy was just like, all right, I'll do it, and he's just gonna go risk his life. Like he has this great life and this little
got a
like,
baby.
yeah,
A
he's gonna
baby.
go risk his life for this girl he doesn't know and who might or may not be the cure. And even if she is immune, doesn't mean there's like, it's
Yeah,
still pretty far fetched that like they can make a cure out of it, right? And you got to find the right people and so I don't know. I just think Tommy's like, you're right. I think Tommy's doing it out of a favor, not necessarily.
yeah,
I do think Tommy believes him. Like I don't think he thinks his brother would lie to him. Personally, I don't know if I would believe it. Like I was thinking about that. And like if my brother came to me and like said this girl is immune, but I feel like I would need to know more and like see more. Um, and I would need to like I would want to like kind of get a council of people to be like, all right, like what do we think? Like what should we do? But I don't know. I thought all that was really really cool and interesting.
Um, another so also in the game, he Tommy had gone back to their home in Texas, and he has a photo of Sarah, of Joel and Sarah, and he tries to give it to Joel, but Joel turns it down, and he says he doesn't want it, and he just gives it back. He doesn't even look at the picture,
Oh wow.
and I thought, and I wish I kept that part too, because that goes to show like where his mind is. Like the same way that he
Yeah.
deals with anybody mentioning Tess, right? He just doesn't deal with it. He doesn't tell anybody that Tess has died. He just pretends like she's still alive, doesn't face any of his problems, just continues to ignore it.
Yep.
And that was a part that I wish they kept. But at the same time, the way the scenes that they decided to do, like how Ellie was getting her hair cut and Maria's telling her, and that's how she finds out about Joel. I
Yeah.
thought that was a touch. Maria was way more fleshed out in the show than she was in the game, so that was good to see as well.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I thought the way they revealed Joel having a daughter or had a daughter was to Ellie was a good like pretty cool way of doing it. Um, and I don't know, I was kind of questioning whether or not wait, what was Tommy's wife's name again?
Maria,
Maria. I was questioning like whether Maria did that on purpose, like told Ellie on purpose.
yeah,
Um, I mean, maybe, probably not, but like, I don't know. It's just like, she clearly does not like Joel. And they hinted a lot about to a lot of stuff that they did in the past. And she's clearly like thinking that, and I don't think this is fair to Joel, but like thinking that, Joel kind of forced Tommy to do these bad things that they did. And really like they did what they had to survive. I don't know the details of what they did. Sounds like they did probably kill innocent people. Not condoning that, obviously, but like again, in that world, like the world they live in, it's like I don't know. Everyone has to probably do some bad shit in order to keep moving on. So I don't know. I think Maria like blaming Joel for all that, and not like she doesn't seem like she's blaming Tommy either, which like he should also get some of the blame. So I was just kind of curious if Maria was like doing that as a kind of like a mind game thing, but probably not.
I did love that Ellie immediately sticks up for him.
Oh yeah, sure.
That's another great character trait.
Yeah,
Yeah, we saw a lot of really great sides of Ellie this time around. Her learning to be a little bit more independent. Joel falls asleep on watch. Dude, what are you doing, Joel? But he falls asleep on watch, and Ellie just grabs her rifle and lets him sleep, and decides to watch over him
yeah,
instead. I really like that. I was actually starting to wonder if Joel was sick when he was getting those panic attacks. So when they clarified it as a panic attack later, I was like,
yeah,
thank God. But I could see them doing. I could kind of see them doing something like that. But it looks like they're really playing up his age, and he's a lot
yeah.
more. Um. So and I like that. That's kind of becoming like a point, like a plot point in the show. You
Hmm.
know, it does make me wonder. I don't know. Well, I'm not. It's hard to guess how they're going to play that out, but yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think uh this was a good episode for Ellie, especially because it looks like next episode we're gonna probably just like it looks like we may just have Ellie. Like, it's gonna center around Ellie and not Joel. I think like both of them have been strong parts of the show, but we really got to like see some like you said, like independence from Ellie and like a little more like I guess she showed a lot of personality, but a lot has been like teenager and kind of like, just like snarky personality. And we got to see a little more like of her like her emotional side, and like she's actually like she sees Joel as a father figure, which like why wouldn't she, right? And like she's like sees him as like the only person who actually cares about her in this world that's left in her life. So yeah, and I think a lot of that was like good development for her character to maybe like so she could, move the show on with another episode or two if it's just her while
Can we
Joel's
talk
invested.
about that argument scene between the two of them?
Yep. Yeah, so this is after after Joel and Tommy talk for the second time, he asks Tommy if he can take her because Joel doesn't feel capable. So and then Ellie's in like the room and Joel goes in, and then they start talking.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. So the most crucial parts of that conversation was word for word. So her saying, everybody that I have cared for has either died or left me, straight from the video game, dude. And the acting, I was actually astounded by the acting, right? Because I got chills. That's the first time watching the show where I actually got chills when she says, everybody fucking except for you, unbelievable. Uh, I did also really like Pedro Pascal's acting when she brings up Sarah, and you could just
Yeah.
see it, facial expression change, and he says, "No, don't say another word." I will say, in the video game, he stops her and he says, "Ellie, you are treading on mighty thin ice right now," and he says it like in a different kind of tone. I wish they
Mhm.
kept that, but a very small complaint. The way they did this scene, it was very important, and I was getting a little worried about whether or not they were going to be able to pull it off. So it was amazing to see in live action. Amazing.
Yeah, it was probably one of the better scenes of the show, I would say, overall, up to this point. I thought that scene and I thought the scene with him and Tommy, um, the
Yeah,
second scene with him and Tommy was one of the better scenes that we've seen as well. I thought that was really good.
yeah,
Because it was just Joel being like so honest about like everything that's happened. Um,
and it's
and
true.
yeah, no, it is absolutely, absolutely. And it was like in the first kind of like one on one that Joel and Tommy have in this episode. Joel's just like you can tell he's mad. Like Tommy's like seems happy and he's living this like relatively normal life. He has a wife, he has a kid on the way, and Joel's lost all of that twice. Like he lost a significant other. Well, I don't know about like his first one that he had Sarah with, but like he lost Tess, right? Recently, right? And now he comes here. Tommy has a wife he didn't know about. He has a kid on the way. Joel obviously lost his daughter. So it's just like all these things are hitting him and he's just like taking it out on Tommy and he's mad. Like he's not happy for Tommy. But then that second scene kind of, and I was like, are they going to leave it out like, are they going to leave it like this? Or are they going to kind of, you know, uh, I don't know, like have a different scene where they're actually kind of like loving each other like brothers and they do have that. And so I'm happy they had that where like Joel opened up and you could see like Tommy was understanding of how
Yeah,
Joel was feeling.
Tommy's he's gained everything that Joel has
Yeah.
lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And I just thought it was so interesting for like Joel, this whole, it initially started because Joel was like, I need to get to Tommy. He's not rating me back. And now he gets there and Tommy's just like living the best life possible. Like it's crazy.
The utopia they're living
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. Yeah. What'd you think of that? So I know in the game, they're actually in the dam, right? And actually they show the dam in this episode, like Joel and Ellie are walking by. They show a dam. So in the game, they're actually like this community is like in the dam. They don't have this whole like kind of town or anything
They do.
like that, right? Oh, they do.
But so in the game, it is the town. You don't get to see the town. You only get to see the dam part. But
Oh, okay.
sequel, you see the whole town, and it's the aesthetic of it is very similar to how you see it here. In the game, though, it's in like the very beginning stages, right? Like they don't even have electricity, so you're actually at the dam when they get the power running, and it's
Mm-hmm.
a monumental moment for like the whole place.
Mm-hmm.
But in the second game, Jackson is an entire. It's a big town that works exactly like how you saw it in the show.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, you even get to see a very quick sneak peek of a very important character in the sequel. The girl that was like spying on them, and Ellie's like,
Mm.
that I think that's my guess, but I think that's a character from the sequel that comes out later. So,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
but yeah, the town it's they actually have a like like that scene where they're riding the horses up to the walls
Yeah.
and then they're let in. That's actually how the second game opens, and
Oh,
it's
wow. Very cool. Okay, gotcha. Oh, yeah, that's cool. So the town does exist in the games. They just kind of showed it a little earlier, and they didn't go through the whole dam part, I guess. But yeah, I thought the town was cool. I mean, like it's basically yeah, it's like a self sufficient town. Like everyone keeps saying, there's a bunch of kids. They have, like a movie theater. So I thought that was interesting to see. Like they're living. They built this like normal life for themselves. Um, what'd you think of the whole all right, so I do have a question. Like, so they get to the college, right? Um, the University of Colorado. Like, it's just Joel and Ellie at that point.
college, the same college. Actually, uh, they took a very different route than the game did, but they both ended up in Colorado. I thought that was really interesting.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Um, yeah, so they get there and like it's obviously it's deserted. They see the Firefly symbols, and then they go into like the biomedical, like school biomedical biosciences, whatever at the college. And it's like deserted, and then they see these like four, I guess they're probably like raiders, right? I would imagine, or whatever, are like kind of walking around, and then they have to like sneak their way out. So they show a bunch of like monkeys, which I thought was kind of funny and interesting. I was thinking like, so, and this is kind of on just like more of a macro level. Have we do we know if like animals can get infected the same way that humans do in this world?
I don't think so.
Okay. Okay, because I was curious about that. Like, I wasn't sure if that was a thing in the game or not.
Mhm.
And I wanted to ask you, but I was just thinking of that, like, because I don't know, a small part of me is like, is one of these monkeys going to end up like they're gonna think it's like just a normal monkey and it's gonna be infected and like come at them? But I was like, that'd be kind of stupid. They probably won't do that. But yeah, I wasn't sure if that was a thing. Okay, okay,
Yeah. But the whole university part, I just, that is like a 4 5 hour segment in the game that they condensed into like 5 minutes.
oh
And
wow,
it's a long part of the game. You get to the university and they explore kind of like how they do in the show, and I understand why they cut a lot of the part out, but I do think they rushed the whole thing.
hmm.
So in the game, right? So they go through and they're exploring and they slowly figure out that uh, it's very apparent that the fireflies have left, and then they get attacked. And in the game, you go through a whole sequence, which I showed you, right, where they have to fight their way out. And once again, they cut out all of the action, right, and it boils down to just Joel fighting this dude right in front of his horse. But in the game, he's leaving bodies in his wake, and they're fighting their way out. They're almost out, and then right at the cusp of freedom, Joel gets surprise attacked, and he falls off a balcony, and he falls on some rebar, and it just jutting out of his stomach, and he has to have Ellie pull himself out, and Ellie has to take charge of the situation, and Ellie has to kill a couple of people on her own while Joel he's barely walking, and they barely make it out, right? And it's a whole extended sequence that I wish that they at least took a bit more from the game and added it into this moment. It's essentially just get out, and then he fights one dude and he gets stabbed in the stomach with a bat.
Yeah,
And it's a lot more realistic than following a full story. Like we were talking about. Just to follow alone
yeah,
would really hurt you, right? But
yeah.
and then living through a rebar sticking out of your stomach. But I really liked in the game how Ellie takes charge of a situation and is essentially the reason that Joel makes it out alive, or not, well, for that moment, right? Until he gets to the very ending, right? Um, and I just wish they kept the part where Ellie was like taking charge and just, and really stepping up in that moment and being, proving herself to be a really dependable person in situations of crisis like that. But
Yeah, you sent me that part from the game and I watched it. I actually thought it was done better in the game. Like I thought it was more intense in the game, and like you said, it's like a whole scene where you're trying after Joel gets like stabbed with the rebar or falls on the rebar, I should say. You're trying to like get out and there's other guys in the way and you have to kill them. Ellie kills a couple. I did think that was more effective. I do think though, like you mentioned, I think what they did in the show is more realistic for a show. We were talking about like, prior before the episode, this episode, like someone, first of all, he falls in the game. He falls like probably a story that could kill you alone without the
Mhm.
rebar sticking out. That could break your back, or if you hit your head the wrong way, like you're done. So he falls,
Yeah.
and then he literally falls on rebar, and it like goes from through his back up through his pretty much like the middle of his stomach. That would probably kill you. I don't think you're getting up from that. Um,
Well, that's the thing, right? So then at the end, when he collapsed, like he's fucking dead. you know?
Yeah, I mean that's so I just think like if they did that in the show, I would have a much harder time being like, there's no way he's even getting up from the rebar. Like I don't even think.
No, he's
Yeah, he's dead. Yeah, he's dead. So I think like the way they did it in the show worked, but I do hear you. Like I as you say, like that was a big kind of like part of the game. You spent like 4 or 5 hours in that area, and they kind of did that in like, I don't know, 15 minutes, probably 10 minutes.
I checked. I
Yeah.
checked. And I was like, wait, times this feels like, how much time is left? It seems like we're getting close to the end, but I thought they were gonna do the university part, and there was 14 minutes left, minutes for like their after credits, like story explanation thing. And
Yeah.
so 10, crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Um, Yeah, but I think overall it worked, and obviously now there's a cliffhanger, at least for show only people who have not played the game of what Joel's fate is. So we'll see. I'm curious to see like how long they're gonna make us wait to find out. Is it gonna be like 2 episodes? Is it just like 1 episode? I guess we'll see. I will say, so I think overall, like I've loved the show. I'm a little disappointed in like how little of like infected that we've seen. I will say, we really haven't seen that much. So anyone who says like, "Oh, this is a zombie show," it's really not. And I think we were talking about this last week. Like, I don't consider this a zombie show. I really don't. Like, it's more of a show of like it's more of like an adventure, and a show about like relationships in kind of in my opinion. It's just the setting is an apocalyptic world where people are, there's like fungus people, right? But we really haven't seen a ton. Like I thought the second episode, right, when him, Tess, and Ellie are going through Boston, and they show that's the episode with the clickers, right? And they show like all the obviously the bunch of infected at the end come and like that's when Tess blows up the building and all that. They show a bunch of infected like on the ground, like doing whatever the hell they're doing. Um, I just thought like we were going to see infected almost every episode. And we've probably only seen them like half the episodes, I would say.
Not
Um,
even. Dude, I can think of 3 scenes where there were actual infected. The one clicker scene, the stampede, and then the scene where Sam gets bit. But before then, they were. I don't remember seeing
well, I
another.
guess like the very first scene in the first episode, like when they're first, like back in 2003, when like it's all going to shit, if you count that. Yeah, and then in that episode we didn't see any more. We saw like the clickers and the stampede in the second episode. Third episode we didn't see any. We saw like the one stray that walks through Bill's trap, which was kind of funny, but I don't really count that. Yeah. And then the fourth we didn't see any, and then I guess we saw the one. It's like he's like collapsed right when Ellie goes down in the thing. But again, like I don't really count that as much. Like it's not.
You know what? I bet it's because the makeup just takes so
Oh, I'm
long.
sure. Yeah. Yeah, and they nail it perfectly.
Yeah, it
So
looks so good, but at what cost?
I would
Okay.
say, yeah, I'm not, this isn't like supposed to be a knock on the show. I'm just like a little disappointed. I thought like I think that's like one of the coolest parts of the whole show to me. It's just like seeing the infected, and it's just it's like fun to see all that. So I'm just a little disappointed in like the lack of infected, I guess, that we've seen. But
They're
at the same time,
hundreds, or they don't. They're just not around at all.
well, I also think like they jumped 3 months from Kansas City to Wyoming. It's like what that they had to go through some shit in that 3 months. Like how they even get to it? Were they walking? Did they walk? Did they like? I'm just so curious. Like how do they get to there? Like did they find a car? Like and like there's no way they
Looks like
didn't
they
run
walked.
into any trouble in those 3 months going across the country. So
I want to know how many clickers and or people they killed in that 3 months.
yeah, I would like to know that as well. I would like to know that as well. Just give us like a quick scene, be like even when Joel's talking to Tommy, like, yeah, and even after Kansas City till here, we had to, I killed about, I went John Wick style and killed about 80 people. And
I wouldn't believe that. No way. No way.
no, not quite that, but no. I get it though. Like obviously you have to, you have limited time. And they do that jump in the game too, right? They do that time jump.
They do some kind of time jump, but it's not 3 months. So
Okay.
it's still like fall time. It's hard to say because they don't necessarily give you an exact like time. Like the way they like summer, fall, winter. Like that's all they do. The only time like actual time
Interesting.
jump you get 20 years later.
Okay. In the beginning. Gotcha. Okay. Well, yeah.
But then essentially, like their journey is supposed to take like well, the whole thing is supposed to happen throughout the course of a year.
Okay.
So yeah, but then they're already in winter, so there's supposed to be one more jump, I guess. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and I know we're gonna see a lot more action in the next 3 or 4 episodes, whatever it is. I think it's 4.
I don't know. No, so I think it's three.
Oh, so
Like
it's gonna be 8 total.
no, this is episode 6, right? 9 total.
This was.
Episode 6.
Oh, I'm sorry. This was 6. My bad. Yeah, this was 6. So three. So
9
three
total.
more. So 9 episodes. Okay, gotcha.
And I think, I have a pretty good idea of how they're going to break this down, especially if this next episode is going to be like Ellie's story. Then so Ellie's prequel is a DLC actually that I played through. Of course, it's also amazing, dude.
Yeah,
I'm very excited to see this part. But yeah, man.
that's cool that they had. That's cool that they're doing that in the show,
And
right?
I was thinking, it only makes sense like in this part, and it actually in like the game, like the prequel kind of happens in like this kind of too. So yeah.
That's cool. How long was the DLC?
It's a good question. I want to say like 5-6 hours,
Oh, okay.
maybe.
So it wasn't too crazy, but yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
that's super cool that they're incorporating that. I love that. So I'm really excited to see next episode. I'm curious to see what they're gonna do with it. Um, I assume it's gonna be like how Ellie got infected and all that. And yeah.
yeah. I am getting a little worried though. Like the very ending of The Last of Us, it's very action packed,
Mm-hmm.
and but and it's some of it is very violent,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very important to be, like the action and the violence very important to the story. So I don't know how they're going to. I don't know how they're going to do it. And like at this point, dude, like I said when the show first started, right? Joe killing this many people is is a problem. Like it's like people, it's going to cause people to like come after them because of how many people he's killed. So um, and it's just, I mean, as of right now, I wouldn't say it's a problem at all. So why would anybody come after them? And that's kind of
Well,
what.
okay, interesting. I didn't know that was part of it, but I mean, who he's just killing people kind of like at random when he has to, is he not? So like, do you mean
No, they're all part of the same group that he's killing. At least in the game. Obviously not in the show, but in the game, like the
wait?
the whole university thing,
Uh-huh.
like all the people he kills like 20, like well you killed like 20, 30 people or something, like
Yeah.
while you're on the way out, and they're all part of the same group, all part of the same group. But I don't know,
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. So you mean like the people he kills at the university part, like that has impact later in the game
yes,
because those people are coming. Okay. I thought you meant just like in general overall, like the people he killed in
yeah.
Kansas
Well, I mean,
City and
I
the
kind of do, but then like even
yeah.
this one, like he kills one dude, and I'm like wondering if
Yeah.
that one
Yeah.
dude is so super important. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and also like, I mean, yeah, they don't even know the identity of this guy. They don't know who Joel is. So like, I don't know. I guess I question like, how would they even track them? How would they track Joel and Ellie? Like, I mean, I don't know. I guess you could. There's ways of doing it, but anyway, interesting. Well, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, I also don't know how long these last couple episodes are going to be. I mean, they could do another hour and a half episode if they need to. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if the finale was like, you know,
I
another
feel
hour and a
like
half.
this one should have been a little bit longer. I think this one needed like another like 10, 15 minutes to be honest
Mm-hmm.
with you. But
Yeah, where would you have put it at the university? Yeah,
oh yeah, that's that part way more, way more. But
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, what'd you think of the couple that in the very beginning of this episode? I thought that was great. I loved it. I thought they were so funny. Like they were so nonchalant about the whole thing. You know what I
dude,
mean? They just knew like Joel wasn't gonna do anything, and I just thought it was really funny.
the one dude's like, "You made him soup."
She's like, well, she's like, well, he had a gun to me, so I had. Yeah, that was really funny. Yeah, no, I mean another strong episode. Well, you know, 3 left. It's crazy. It's going this fast.
I want to say I'm starting to like the show more and more. I think like the beginning, you know, I might not have been completely on board with the show, but right now, dude, it is riveting, super compelling, and the fact that I don't know how they're going to adapt these scenes
Mm-hmm.
makes it so different. So
Mm-hmm. My favorite part of the show so far. So like, you know, there's like the storylines, right? Like, so it's like Boston, and then it's Bill and Frank, which is kind of its own thing. And then it was Kansas City. And now this was like their, you know, the Wyoming and Colorado and whatever else goes on after that. So honestly, I think the first 2 episodes have been my favorite arc. Like I think I mean, I thought the first scene was like first 20 minutes was amazing with like how, you know, how it all starts.
oh yeah.
And then I thought all the stuff in the Boston QZ was really interesting, and like how they get to meet Ellie. And then I thought that next episode was maybe my favorite episode, honestly, like when the clickers and all that. I thought that was really good. I don't know. I just liked all that the most so far. I also thought the Kansas City stuff was really cool too. Um, I don't know. I kind of think this episode is probably my least favorite. Uh, what's that?
That yeah, that's crazy. Like, you know, this episode could have been so good. It could have been
No,
so
you know, I don't want to say that. Maybe the first episode 4, like so the first part episode of the Kansas City two-parter, we'll call it. Maybe that was my least favorite. This one was good in the sense of like the interactions between Joel and Ellie and Joel and Tommy, I thought.
yeah.
Other than that, yeah, I mean it was cool, but like I don't know. Yeah, the university scene from what I watched, like the scene you sent me in the game, now I'm kind of like, I feel like we got kind of a like a nerfed
Dude, I know
version. We got a
exactly.
nerfed
So
version of that. Yeah. Yeah.
dude, exactly. That's how. So before that, I was like, "Yo, this episode's so good."
Yeah.
I was like, "I can't wait for this part," and I was like, "What?
Hmm.
That's no way."
Yeah. I almost
That's pretty disappointing, dude. It was pretty disappointing.
yeah, but I think they'll probably knock it out of the park with these last 3. If I was a betting man, I would say they're not gonna knock it out of the park.
You know, some scenes they have adapted like really, really well, like Sarah's death and the argument between Joel and Ellie, Sam and Henry. The whole, I think the Sam and Henry episode is still my favorite. Just because I think
Yeah.
that just over that whole from front to beginning to end, that episode was executed just amazingly.
Yeah,
All
it
the
was.
from the game were amazing. So I think it's still, but this dude, there was a point where I was like, yo, this episode is amazing. And then
Yeah.
yeah, and then it ended in no way. But you know, at the same time, for people that haven't seen the show, the cliffhanger must have blown their minds. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I had a buddy kind of ruin it for me. He like texted me yesterday afternoon and was like was like I really hope he's like I don't really know like what happens to Joel, but like you know, if he is actually dead, I don't think Ellie can carry the show. And I was like, dude, I haven't watched the episode. It's like, bro, man, come on. So now I knew something was gonna happen to Joel. I didn't know how or like what, but like I kind of knew like this was gonna happen. Like he was gonna like there's gonna be some sort of cliffhanger at the end of this. Anyway, whatever. It was still good. You know, it was still powerful, but
yeah, for
cool.
sure.
Anything else?
Uh, no, I don't think so. You know, overall, I think a strong episode, but you know, I think overall, you know, they haven't adapted every scene perfectly, right? So, but there's still some absolutely insane moments coming. Like now we are right in the thick of the game, right? Like we're about to
Yeah.
see like some of the strongest moments from the game adapted. And if they do this right, this show it could be legendary, man. If they do these next couple of episodes right. Even in this next episode, dude, there better be. I'm waiting for this one scene, and it better almost make me cry. Okay.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. Okay.
But at the same time, we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone. If you like this episode, make sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more content. As always, comment below about other movies and TV shows you'd like to hear us non-critics criticize. And I think that's all we got.
All right.
Thanks everyone. Peace.